Howdy. So, we are going to look at this thing, the Evercade multi-game cartridge Atari Arcade 1. I can't imagine this will be too long. A lot of these games are nothing to them whatsoever. But we're going to give them a whirl so you can all see how not so great a collection this is. This is the cart, Atari Arcade 1 written on one side, and a wee label with the matching purple color that Evercade has for its arcade carts. I'm going to plug this into slot 1 on my VS. I don't know if you can actually see the console due to the camera angle. I'm more concerned with capturing the TV screen than I am with the hardware. So this is an Evercade controller, very basic digital pad. I really like the D-pad on these. Very nice action on them. I really like the fact there's no analog buttons. I really wish I could get a PlayStation controller that didn't have analog triggers, because there are arcade games that I would like to remap function to, but instead I have to use L1 and R1. And the other buttons, there's a home button, there's a start, select. Power, you've got to hold down for a sec until this LED comes on in the front. It's a very attractive looking little plastic console. It's probably going to be loud. Let's see. Blaze Entertainment logo, very proud. UK company. Built its own retro console. Yay. Made in the UK. Well, I don't think it's made here. Oh, this is nice. Now this, I haven't launched this in a while. And this is one nice feature of having a cartridge based as opposed to a disc based system or a ROM. These are not read-only, or I don't actually know how they do the updates. If they actually are written to the cart, I believe that there is a rewrite area on the cart. So let's patch this cartridge. As I said in my last arcade video where I was introducing these things, the Evercade has a Wi-Fi chip in it. It's on my home Wi-Fi, and it will in fact pop up a thing saying, hey, I've got an update. You want to slap this on here. Part of it is code updates, but the other interesting feature about the Evercade is that it has built-in games. Some of them are hidden. You can look up online and unlock them. I've got 4 I haven't found yet. But they also every month will have a new indie game. And well, now egg's going to be on my face if they've actually sorted a lot of this stuff out. Because I run and slated this collection, and maybe they fixed it all. Wouldn't that be nice? So here's our collection of 13 games. We got Asteroids Deluxe. I'll be very interested to see what that looks like because, well, we'll just see. Canyon Bomber. This is actually on the 4-in-1 cart that comes with the paddles for the 2600 plus, 2600, but it was originally an arcade upright, which basically is a big power button. Centipede, Crystal Castles, Liberator, Lunar Lander, Millipede, Missile Command. I mean, so far these games, with the exception of Asteroids Deluxe and Canyon Bomber, trackball, trackball, trackball. You know, buttons, trackball, Missile Command, trackball, Night Driver, wheel, you know, potentiometer, probably driven steering wheel controller, Pong, another, you know, paddle game, Skydiver. I can't tell what that is. It's got some kind of weird looking control on it. Super Breakout, another paddle game, Warlords, paddle game. So so we have a collection here of pretty much all but like a handful of these games are in fact using analog controls, but I'm playing them with a joypad. All right, now let's just cut to the chase then. When you hit the A button, you get a little description here. Asteroids Deluxe is a challenging variant on asteroids, blah, 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 killer satellites. Okay, great. I've played it a whopping 4 minutes. Tells you what the controls are. Shield is Y, fire is B, A is thrust. Turn ship. So we've got buttons for everything except turning the ship. We're using the D-pad. I am not a big fan of that configuration. Let's see if we can change the controls. This was an addition. It came within the last, I want to say 4 months. So that's kind of cool. Coin limits, playing competition mode. I'm not sure what that is specifically, but let's edit the controls. So this will cycle through them. Now one thing, so it tells you what it does. A is thrust. Now you cannot set anything to the D-pad, unfortunately. So I do have to use that for thrust, which really annoys me. But we'll map it to X. Are we not doing that? Come on, I would like to make it. Okay, fire. I'll make that a shoulder button. You're not recognizing this? It usually doesn't do that. All right, and we'll make shield A. Come on now. All right, start, select. So we got shield A, thrust X, R1 fire. So it has recognized my things. Usually the mapping is a little more responsive. You press the button and it just goes and does it. And we'll go to last save. Now let's see. Now you see the background art up there. They got the ship with the little fins coming off of it. Definitely Asteroids Deluxe. But, and this is like the most embarrassing thing. This, see 1979 at the bottom? There's a saucer. Right, we're gonna play start. Let's see if you notice a problem here, folks. This is not Asteroids Deluxe. Okay, this is Asteroids. So, and I know it's Asteroids because the ship is different, the explosions are different, all the graphics, this is all Asteroids. And this has got to be embarrassing for Blaze, because it's Asteroids Deluxe in the manual. Everything in the art and everything says this is Asteroids Deluxe. And yet, what has happened is that someone's gotten a hold of a ROM of Asteroids, and then that background art that you see there is the backglass art, or the background art from Asteroids Deluxe. So we're playing Asteroids with Asteroids Deluxe. I believe there's a ROM available in the MAME ROM set, which is where I think these images might have come from. The ROM images on this collection that has the Asteroids Deluxe artwork on it. And someone, I guess, whoever curated this didn't bother to play the game. I really don't understand how it's possible that you could want to include Asteroids Deluxe, play this, and think it was Asteroids Deluxe. If you've ever played Asteroids Deluxe, they have a very different feel. But setting that aside, the astute among you might notice that the image is a little bit janky. That's because I actually have turned on the scan lines. So let's turn them off. There's bezel choices. You can have different bezels. There's not a lot to choose from, but there's more than the Arcade 1-Up had. It's kind of cool. A wireframe one. I like the logos, or I like the box art one. So that's what I use. All right, so back. So I've turned it off, but even with those turned off, the scan lines, which I enjoy on some of these games, it's just not the Arcade 1-Up. Looks way better than this. It looks more like an actual vector graphics kind of display. It's super clean. This is a little bit blurry, but it's still pretty playable. I am disappointed that I can't remap any of the functions to here, because what I would normally do is probably try to make up thrust instead of using a button press for that. But that's fine. I don't have a problem using a trigger for firing. Right. So we do a quick save. Boom, little logo pops up in the lower right corner to tell you it's saved. If you don't save it, it doesn't auto-save. So if you've got a high score and you want to save it, or you're playing a game and you need to interrupt it for a moment, you can save, move on, do your thing. All right, we'll go back to the thing here. Canyon Bomber. Tells you how to play the game. Again, drop the canyon. What do we got? So this is like possibly the most basic Atari game ever released. It's got a button. Now, you might remember I said this was included in the 4-in-1 with the paddle. Well, that's because when they did this for home release, they included a second game mode, which is like trying to drop depth charges to blow up submarines. And for that, you need to use the paddle to set the depth of your depth charge detonation. It's a fiddly game. I do cover it in, I think, part 1 of my, or part 1 or 2, I can't remember, of my Let's Play Atari 2600 Plus. All right, so this is pretty, hard to mess this up, right? Drop a bomb. Why'd they make it the B button? I don't know, but I'll leave it. I'm just gonna play it. I played it once. Right, here it is. Let's see if it's as janky as if it's as cheap, if the AI is like unbeatable, like the home version. The 2600 version, the AI was just like impeccable, just pummeled me senseless. I feel like I have a chance of victory here, which is pretty nice. I don't think it's going to make me go through this entire, oh, that didn't hit anything. That wasn't good. That's going to cost me maybe. Nah, I got it. The computer is, might have a lucky streak, I don't know. Oh look, now we're flying biplanes instead of, what you call them, blimps, dirigibles. Oh, I missed. So you can miss 3 times, but I did beat the pants off of this AI, so that makes me feel like I've achieved something today. Centipede. Now, like I said in my last thing when on the Arcade 1-Up, Centipede's a game. You could play this with a trackball. Why not? I've played it a few times, obviously. All right, very basic controls. Move the thing with the D-pad and shoot the things. Great. I played it 3 times. So, looks pretty clean. Right? I've turned off the scan lines. Interestingly, I did remap the button on this because I prefer using the X button. If you were playing with a PlayStation controller, it'd be square. I have no idea what it'd be for Xbox because I haven't played one of those. The 1 button or the 2 button or the A button or the B, whatever the hell they use. Oh, genius. That wasn't very good. I mean, it's fine. D-pad is slightly less satisfying than the trackball. Your movement is not as smooth because you're trying to kind of tap away. But it's functional. You don't need a trackball to play Centipede. This works all right. What I do find interesting, however, is and note that there's not really a lot you can do to change this. There's not a lot of settings you can use here. I'm going to go back here for a minute. coin limit off, edit the controls, and that's about it. So you can't control the difficulty, you can't control the starting number of lives, what score, you know, the stuff that you can adjust in the Arcade 1-Up. This is clearly using an arcade ROM though. So it's interesting that you don't have any kind of the normal kind of controls that you would expect to find in a compilation like this, because obviously the original arcade games had operator control panels where the operator of the machine, the owner, or the person renting the really. So I you know, for example, if I found this too challenging, I can't do anything about that. The game is as hard as it is. I can't adjust that. Or if I felt like, oh, this is way too easy, I wish I could turn off the high score, you know, the extra lives, or make it very difficult to earn them. No. And it's not obvious right now what's going on, but when I get to stage 3, okay, if I get to stage 3, where normally the scorpions appear in this game on the Evercade, they do not. So I'm wondering if they've picked if they've just locked in like an easier difficulty than what you would normally encounter if you played this game in the arcade when it first came out. Because I clearly remember scorpions. Well, I played the Arcade 1-Up, and if you've watched that video, you will see them. But in this, if you make it to wave 3, no, they're not there. And so that's fine. I mean, it's fine. If you like Centipede, great. Crystal Castles, however, and this one again, this should be fine too, really. But again, we're going to look here, and again, there's no settings. So let's just fire it up. Okay, so there's the track screen. There's my initials. This one I didn't remap the controls. And you're not using a trackball, so it's got, whoop. Not using a trackball, and I'm still able to make a fumble and go down the path I don't want to go down. But it's perfectly playable with a D-pad. So I can't fault this one, really. I do sense, however, that this is possibly, again, an easier difficulty level, because my bear is clearly a lot faster than these trees are. I mean, these guys suck. If I wasn't doing stupid things like making a wrong turn, they'd have no hope of beating me. I mean, it's Crystal Castles. Visually looks really good. So far in the visuals, I can't fault it. Unlike the Arcade 1-Up, I'm using a lot more. They're using more of the screen. It's full height of my TV, unlike the Arcade 1-Up, which is great. I've got a choice of bezels on the side, also very nice. Again, can't fault it. It's not bad, not bad. Let's see, Liberator. This is another trackball game. Alright, we got fire and activate shields. Did I remap these controls? Activate the shields as A, that's fine, and we'll make X the fire button. This is a lot more responsive than when I was trying to set them for asteroids. That was a bit sluggish. Okay, let's play. Okay. So Liberator, it's kind of like reverse missile command. So I've got bases here. We start out, we're flying through space, and then we go to the planet. So we're trying to hit little bases on the planet, which are the flashing red things, and we're trying to shoot the missiles coming from the planet. So we're the invaders, basically. I'm sure we got a good reason. You know, this is the Atari Force we're talking about. They wouldn't just be attacking some kind of defenseless, friendly planet or anything. Now, you can either shoot the bases, or as it happened here, eventually it will fire all of its missiles off, and it'll go away. But you really want to try to hit them. You know, what ships are coming out? Oh, they're coming to meet me. So initially, it's like, okay, it's, you know, and you get bonuses for how many ships are in your fleet. But eventually what's going to happen is there's going to be so many of these freaking things that they're going to overwhelm you. So this is, you know, perfectly serviceable game with a D-pad. I don't feel like I'm hard done by not having a trackball for this. And this is, you know, like Canyon Bomber, not included on the Arcade 1-Up's roster of games. I mean, you know, they could have put Canyon Bomber on the Arcade 1-Up, but they didn't. And are we poorer for that? No, not really. But you might notice, if you pay attention, the little satellites that fly out are actually the bases. They kind of like jump off the planet. You can hit them when they're in orbit. Oh. Yeah, that one you probably saw. Oh, I'm getting hit. That's fine. Liberator is a game I remember playing in the arcade a few times. It's not one of my favorites, to be perfectly honest. It's fine. It works in a compilation. Okay, quit that one. What's next? Lunar Lander. Okay. Let's see, what are the controls? Emergency thrusters, thrust. Yeah, that's fine. Classified as a simulation game from 1979. And again, you know, this is a vector graphics game, and clearly whatever the display settings are in whatever emulator they're using are not that great. It does not look remotely as good as it does with the Arcade 1-Up. The 1-Up's visuals for rendering vector graphics are whatever their emulator is, or the settings thereof. I don't know if these are both using MAME, if either one of them is using MAME, who knows. But this is far nicer looking on, let me just double check that I don't have any. Nope, no scan lines. Original ratio I'm using. So yeah, this is just a limitation of whatever. Oh, no, that's a port. Don't want that. It just doesn't look as nice. The 1-Up, Arcade 1-Up, looks razor sharp. Looks like you could be fooled into thinking you were looking at a vector display if it wasn't for the fact that your television was only like a centimeter thick. See if I can make it this time. But again, you know, is that because I'm using full vertical height? Is that of the TV? Is it stretching it out? I don't think so. I mean, it doesn't. I'm going too fast. Oh no, Field Tanks Destroyed. I think we've seen enough of that, really, to be honest. I don't feel the need to play these through entirely. Millipede is a game that I think I said on my Arcade 1-Up video is one that was actually sold as a kit, conversion kit. You could load it into a system that had a joystick in it, and a cabinet that had a joystick. So, and I definitely played it in the arcade, at least probably only on one occasion, but I wasn't aware of that. You know, back then you used to think, oh, all these cabinets were originally sold, you know, they must have made but actually no, a lot of these machines, especially in later times, you're trying to sell, you know, arcade operators new games, and you know, they weren't cheap. It cost like thousands of dollars. So a lot of operators are not going to take a chance on a game that might not be something. So what they usually do is they give you an alternative. It's like, okay, well, you can buy the cab, or we'll sell it as a kit. Just buy this printed circuit board, and here's the new marquee, and maybe some side art or something like that. And you can put this new game in there, and you don't have to pay as much because you don't have to buy the whole cabinet. You know, so everybody started doing that. Oh, there's the inchworm. Oh. Dead. That's fine. I can be dead. Yeah, I still don't have a high score on that one. But that was, you know, I mean, I wasn't, my brain isn't in this, to be honest. I'm just trying to get through it and show you what's what. Now this one, the defaults are good. Alpha, delta, and omega, great. Move the reticle. Now Missile Command is a game that really does need a trackball. Unless you're gonna, you know, tune your control somehow. I frankly, I don't know, how do you tune a digital control to emulate any increased speed of you know, being able to spin a trackball, and you know, you're going to see really quickly how unsatisfying this is. Is there a reason you're not? Yeah. So the problem with this is how fast I can move this, right? And yeah, right now it seems okay. Like, oh, you can shoot the missiles, it's fine. Plus you got the positioning of the buttons, little 3 buttons down here, and an inverse shape of the arrangement. You know, these are like in a line pretty much, so your touch memory will quickly learn the positioning. You know, your hand-eye coordination, is it all good because you've been playing video games since you were a small kid? No issues you will encounter remembering that. But once this starts getting a bit harder, the D-pad does not cut it. I mean, I can do a spread. It's not terrible, but it's not as satisfying as spinning a trackball and blanketing your screen. You know, I can't get a curved arc. Okay, that's fine. Wait, how come I've already got a city? I only have 4,000 points. See, this is another thing that annoys me about this comp. Because they've definitely used some kind of lower difficulty settings. Because in the arcade, I wouldn't be getting a free city till I got 10,000. So making it 4,000 is A bit arbitrary, and B, you kind of, you know, crippled the game a bit. And it is just not frickin', you can't play this thing. When you start getting really hard, the trackball doesn't cut it. I mean, well, look, ooh, I've already beat the high score. Look at me, I'm so good. All right. I got 10 grand, probably get another city. Of course, it's made every 4,500 points. So if this is the way that we're compensating for this control scheme, I'm like, okay, well, you can do that, I guess. But the fact is, if you play Missile Command at all, The reason it works on the Atari 2600 is because the Atari 2600, they ported it. They made a new game, basically, recognizing the limitations of the host machine. So you change the style. It's like, okay, we're using a joystick interface. Great. And you only got one base. Also great. So we'll give you more missiles. You know, there's those kind of changes make sense to me. You're changing, you're adapting the game, you're porting the game. But this is emulated. You're making a game that was built for a specific control type, and you're taking it and making it something else. Giving it different controls, which don't work as good. A Night Driver, you know, this is going to be another one that's going to be, ugh. I mean, look at that. So Night Driver in the arcade had a gear shift. So here, you got an accelerator, fine. Steer the car, fine. But now I have to remember, right, first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear. All right. But this might be okay with a D-pad, steering the car left and right. Oh, look at that. They even have a graphic of the car that was on the screen, you know, that's kind of neat. All right. Here I go. Okay, let's go to third. It's a little bit slicker than Night Driver on the 2600, I have to say. Oh, forgetting to upshift. Now this is interesting because once again, you'll notice that what's missing from here. If you saw me play the 2600 version, then obviously what's missing is there's no oncoming cars, there's no trees, there's no houses, there's nothing. So why is there nothing? Well, that might be a feature of the arcade. But at the same time, since I also know from playing other games in this collection that they have tweaked the difficulty to be lower, it might be that these things are just switched off. The hazards aren't there because we've selected a lower difficulty. I don't know. So okay, I'm playing the arcade game, but am I playing the arcade game as I would have seen it back in the day? So even if this was in fact the arcade, this would be one of those instances where I guess the home version outstrips the arcade because I find this a less engaging experience than playing the 2600 version, not only because I'm not using a paddle controller to steer, but because there's nothing else going on. I'm just driving and gear shifting. So bit of a dud. I mean, it works, but it's not interesting. Now this is the most questionable. So here's an interesting idea or a fact about Pong. So look at that, 1972. Sometimes people talk about Pong. Pong, this is not an emulation. I should note. Pong is a video game that was created without code. There is no code in Pong. This might be hard to wrap your head around. Pong didn't have like a general purpose CPU, and someone programmed a game of Pong that ran on that CPU. Pong is in fact a collection of different transistors and circuits that are you're manipulating things. It's kind of, I mean, you could create a game that would work on a television that's just like sending signals being created by, you know, resistors and whatever jazz on a board. They wouldn't be sophisticated games, they'd be Pong. But so as a consequence, every time you get, you know, Pong included in some kind of collection, you know, I'm pretty sure nobody is actually like emulating the freaking hardware because there's no code to run on it. You have to write all of this stuff yourself. You have to come up with a version of Pong that acts like Pong. I guess you could write code, you're writing code that kind of is like the electrical resistors and transistors and all the jazz that went on the boards, but anyway, I digress. So, paddle game, Pong. Now, I'm only one person. Now, the criticism I have seen of this is that this is the worst version of Pong ever made. There's not a lot of reviews of this cart online. The review I read, there's a negative review that people tried to downvote on Argos, which is a catalog shop that still exists. We still have those in the UK, one anyway. And it was worst game of Pong ever. And I was like, that's a bit harsh, but once you play it, 100%, this is the worst game of Pong ever. Because not only does it not really look like Pong, like the paddles are skinnier and the dots, the ball's smaller, but good Lord, I mean, everything else on this game, on this machine so far has been difficulties tuned down. But look at the speed of this. This is ridiculous. I mean, that was a jump. And not to mention which, I didn't go start the game. I didn't insert a coin or anything. It just did this. So, wow. Let's see if we can reset it. No, yeah, I'm not making it up. I didn't load a save of a game in progress. Not to mention which, I can't accelerate the paddle. I'm basically happy if I can even hit the thing. I feel like I'm achieving something. Much less trying to put English on it or something like that. I mean, this is crazy. What is the point of this? That is not remotely. I mean, if you've ever played any other version of in a compilation, a version of Pong, or if you've actually ever played Pong, either in a dedicated home console or Video Olympics for that matter, doesn't look like that. I mean, the paddles should be fatter. It shouldn't be starting out turned up to 11. Bonkers. All right, Skydiver. This is a pretty basic game. You jump, you open the parachute, you try to land on the target. Pretty straightforward. I think what they did in the arcade, it looks like they have these giant pull rings to open the parachute, which is kind of cool. It's like I said in my last video, a lot of early arcade games did not use joysticks. They often had these dedicated kind of controls because they had like a carnival fairground kind of feel happening. All right, you can miss 3 times, so you got to try to land in there. I believe there is a 2600 version of this game that probably doesn't look quite as nice. It doesn't have as many pixels, but I have to insert more coins? Oh my goodness. Yeah, press the, okay. Oh, I jumped. Now what? Oh, where's my guy? No, I'm gonna get on my opponent's thing. I don't get points for that. All right, let's take a look at what the frickin' controls are again. Jeez, I thought I had it. Jump is B. A, open the parachute. Okay. I want to. See, it tells me the start button is start, but it isn't. Well, it is, but it just takes its sweet ass time. All right, now that I actually wind speeds, you got the wind sock blowing that way. I missed. All right, let's see if I can actually. You can't really maneuver this very well. Yeah, look at that score. Not that it matters because the stupid computer is like. Look, there's no wind. Why can I not steer? Oh, come on. All right, let's try it again. But the wind stopped just because I jumped out of the plane? Hey, finally, justice. I do like the fact that it's just misses. You get so many misses. So as long as you land on the platform, you can play this game until the cows come home. But unfortunately, the wind's erratic, but I think I can still make the platform. Look at that. Now I just have to play catch up. The computer bombed out. How rare in one of these games that the AI actually sucks. Question is, am I going to make it? Oh. Come on, the wind's with my... Yes, that counted. 1 foot on it. Oh my God, I can't believe this. I mean, Oh no, don't blow me off course. Yes, wind in my favor. Haha, victory! Eat that, Skynet. I got you this time. Like the plane's getting lower. What are we playing with people's lives here? We're skydiving. We're not like, you know, base jumping. It's supposed to be oh no, I'm off course. Wow, but look at that. High score. I'm gonna save that one. I don't know what was there before. I didn't restore, but I doubt it was a score that was that good. All right, we're getting to the final two here. And so far, it's not disastrous. Pong sucks. Missile command. The overriding complaint I have so far is all these games have been too easy. Can't adjust the difficulty. All right, so in this one, like the arcade, you press a specific button to choose a specific mode. Now, Breakout is a game that, playing with a D-pad, you can only play this kind of game with a D-pad if you've actually tuned the controls to use it. That means reading how much input there is, a long press, a short press, all that kind of jazz. There is a version, there's a new, I think released last year, which I own. There's an Arkanoid game that Taito, or whoever owns Taito, released on the PS4, 5. And it plays with a D-pad and it's great. It works fine. And it has classic Arkanoid. It has like I don't know if it's actually arcade emulation, but it looks very close to the original arcade game for Arkanoid, and it plays great with a D-pad. So it is possible. Question is that what we did here? Did we tune this game? Now that's not helpful. It's like it keeps switching back. Like I'm trying to choose the version that I want, and all right, we got two double. Okay, that failed. Try it again. Serve. The paddles are really narrow. It's very unfair compared to the home version, which that doesn't happen until later. But I think we get more paddles. I think we get 4, I want to say, I hope. But if we don't, guess what? Nothing I can do about it because, yeah, so you only get 3. And you can't tweak it. You know, there's no adjusting settings, right? For the actual game difficulty or anything. Now let's try, well, we'll give it another go, just to have a good test. All right, I'm gonna play progressive. Again, dinky ass paddle. We are using the full height. The blocks look clean, visually appealing. And I love Super Breakout. I really like the arcade game. And so this one is a particular disappointment to me that I'm having to, I don't have the ability to tweak the settings on it. I mean, it does look like someone has listened, possibly, because I don't remember this being playable at all with the D-pad. But then again, we also haven't gotten fast. So my charity may run out when the thing picks up, if I live long enough. And that's fundamentally the problem here, is that although I can sort of play this with the D-pad, I doubt I can play a really good game with the D-pad because it doesn't have that tactile control. You're just sliding the paddle back and forth. There's no finesse. I can't feel it. So that one's mixed. And lastly, Warlords. Now, Warlords wasn't included on Super Breakout. I think should have definitely been on the arcade 1-up. You could have used the trackball for an analog input for controlling a battle. 100%. Warlords, no, because it's up to 4 players simultaneous. And obviously, our arcade 1-up friends, they made the Couchcade. It's definitely single player or hand off to your friend kind of affair. So this kind of game isn't going to work for that. Now, Warlords was originally an arcade game, but it was very popular in the home space. So this is an unusual one to see the actual arcade. Usually when you have compilations for this, they end up being the 2600 version, not the arcade version. So, right, so there's me. Gonna count down, make sure nobody wants to join. I remember playing this as a cocktail game. Well, that wasn't cool. You can grab the fireball and chuck it at your enemies. I have actually almost beaten this once. Oh. I mean, it is, you know, the D-pad is not ideal for this game. You know, again, you don't have, there's no finesse. I can play it, but I don't feel as in control because what I'm doing is kind of, it's sort of like trying to play, why are you going after me? I mean, granted, I am weakest, but still, hit one of those other guys instead. Oh, my castle fortifications are getting knocked down. And the Evercade Versus has 4 controller ports, so you could 100% play this 4-player, and I bet it would be pretty fun. I think that, you know, the control isn't super sexy with the D-pad, but it is definitely playable, and certainly playable enough for you and your mates, especially if you're inebriated, to have a go at it. Oh, come on, I had that guy. No, stop trying to get me. Yeah, 1 castle down. Oh, I don't think I'm gonna make it. This is looking bad for me. 3 fireballs, I mean, yeah. Da, 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 da. All right, how do I enter my initials? Oh, okay. Whoa, yeah, see, this is another thing about not having a trackball is jumpy. Jump. Come on, give me, how do I get an R? It's like, can I hit it for a split? There we go. All right, can I get the A? I don't know why I'm doing that. So bottom line is, if you really like, you know, it's hard to recommend this, to be honest. If you have an Evercade and you don't want to spend $100 on a Couchcade and to have the other selection of great games that comes with that, I guess this is fine. But, you know, visually, you've got the vector graphics games don't look very good. The version of Pong is pretty rubbish. Night Driver is fairly boring compared to the 2600 version. Missile Command and Super Breakout are, you know, playable but underwhelming because of the fact that you're using a D-pad. These ones, Liberator, Crystal Castle, Centipede, Millipede, playable, but you can't adjust the difficulty, so they're probably too easy for a lot of people. And this is not Asteroids Deluxe, embarrassingly. Despite all, you know, using the poster art and everything else, it's a version of Asteroids that has the Asteroids Deluxe background art. I'm still flummoxed. I don't understand how in the world that could get through QA. That's an update that I'd like to see happen. You want to update this? How about actually putting Asteroids Deluxe on the freaking cart? But this is the only Atari Arcade collection so far. And, you know, this is the thing that I find most frustrating about it, is there's a number of games that they could have put on here that would have been fine with a D-pad input. They just happen to be later in the post-Atari Corp era, so the licensing may have been more difficult to get cleared, because maybe Warner goes, "Who are you?" and doesn't answer emails. I mean, I don't know. They don't seem to be doing anything with their classic arcade IP, which, you know, last time I saw was, you know, the full Midway Williams Bally catalog, in addition to the Atari game stuff, 1980, you know, post 1983 breakup. So, but there's a ton of games that would be perfectly fine. A lot of, they'd be raster, they'd look good, but nope, just didn't do that. So that's fine. If you can get this cheap, and you want to have, like, you know, that's why I got it. It's like, oh, I want the full. I don't want number 3 or number 4 missing from my purple cart row. Then get it. But otherwise, no. You can play all of these games in other compilations. Possibly the Arcade Warlords. I can't remember if that's actually in the flashback collections on the PlayStation or not. But that's what's coming up next. We'll be going through arcade games on the PlayStation for Atari arcade games specifically across Flashback Classics 1, 2, 3 and the Atari 50. So stay tuned for that, and until then, keep gaming.